What is up, everybody? Convicted marketer Lawrence Ponce here. And in this video training, we're going to be going over the 17 steps to get started building business credit from scratch. So these are going to be the steps in order on everything you need to do. The training objective is to literally go step by step and show you guys the process needed to complete in order to start building business credit. This has been a very hot topic lately, and not a lot of information is out there about it, and I kind of wanted to bring it to light and help everybody out. We'll start this training off with a quote here by this man on the right. His name is Frank Abagnale Jr., that's me on the left. And he said, "A lot of people say I was brilliant. I wasn't. I was an opportunist, a young entrepreneur who saw things and took advantage." Now, if you don't know who Frank Abagnale Jr. is, basically he's the guy from Catch Me If You Can with Leonardo DiCaprio, the movie. And he went on a spree of writing these checks, and he was just an opportunist on every angle. And in some ways, I feel like I'm an opportunist. If you know a little bit of background about me, I started something called Marketer's Mansion a few years ago called Marketer's Mansion in Phoenix, Arizona. And literally we had hundreds and hundreds of entrepreneurs come in and kind of learn entrepreneurism and what it is to start a business. I also started with Shopify and Facebook advertising and drop shipping from AliExpress. And I was one of the first kind of in the group of getting Bitcoin, and actually documented the entire process of where I went to a pizza shop and I bought my first Bitcoin for, it was $1,000. And then more recently, I was actually doing sports betting where we actually went undefeated on our baseball season picks. So this is just kind of a couple of things that, being an opportunist and being on the forefront of things. And this is kind of where business credit comes in. And there's a quote here that I put on the screen, and it says, "Nothing will change in your life if you don't do something different from what you've been doing." So I always try to kind of challenge myself, and I do things that kind of put me out of my comfort zone. And you can see zip lining was one of those things here that I did in Medellin, Colombia. But before we actually get into the training, just a little bit of housekeeping. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme, okay? This is a legitimate blueprint on how you can build business credit, okay? This is not for non-action takers. Every step along the process, you're going to have to do it yourself. And once, just something here where it says you will not see any success with poor worth ethic. Okay, so you got to put in the work. You got to do everything that's going to be provided for you in this training. So some examples of some business credit lines that you'll get once you start actually doing this process. If we look at the very first one, it's $15,000 to Sam's Club. If you're familiar, they have like a lot of warehouse deals and wholesale stuff. So there was an approval there for $15,000. In the middle, there's a gas card for $10,000. So maybe if you're a business owner where you need gas, where you have a trucking business, maybe a lawn service, maybe you do Uber, right? Or Lyft, or one of those car driving apps, and you need gas. A gas line would be great if you can actually do this. The last one here, if you look at the right, is actually with Amazon. It's a $2,000 approved for Amazon. Amazon sells anything and everything, and $2,000, it would be great, kind of a starter account to get in and, get forth with it. So who's this training for? You're going to fall into one of these categories, I hope. So if you don't currently have a business, but you want to start one so you can build and leverage business credit, that may be you. Number two, if you currently have a business, maybe you already have something online, maybe you have a retail business, maybe you have a service business, but you want to start building business credit. That way you can actually leverage it. You may fall into that category. Number three, you may have messed up your personal credit. Okay, how many of you guys are guilty of that in the past, and you kind of want a fresh start? And you can actually do this by leveraging business credit. So kind of going off that last slide, regardless of your personal credit, okay, you can build and leverage business credit. So if you have foreclosure, bankruptcy, you have a 400 credit score, you owed a bunch of money, it doesn't matter, because the way we're building business credit is separate from your personal credit. So it doesn't matter if you have bad credit. However, if you do have good credit, and you want to piggyback off of that, that is an advantage that you will have. So if you have good credit. Now, just be sure to stay through to the end, because I will show you guys where you can get the PDF material that I'll be mentioning throughout this training. There'll be a lot of different things that we're going to go through. And just a little backstory before we actually get into the training. The first time I heard about business credit was actually through this newspaper article, and it was talking about this building here, and this building here, this little house, has over 2,000 companies in one house. Basically, what they're doing is they're aging these companies, and they end up selling them to people that want to just like a fresh start with already like an established company that has credit. So, but the whole thing where I was reading about this article was about leverage, and people, using nothing and making something. And that really kind of made me dive into this, right? Leverage is using any technique involving other people's funds rather than fresh equity in the purchase of an asset. So business credit will help you leverage and, kind of do everything it's going to be mentioning. So if we fast forward about 5 years, I first started online about 4 years ago. And you can see I was selling like socks, and I had like my packages, all stuff going to the post office, and you can see within just 3 months I did over $100,000, and when I was down to like my last $100, and this was all based on a leveraged business model example, where if we look at the very top where it says online store is what we had, and I basically use social media as a platform credit. They actually credit you advertisement, and then I drop shipped items from different suppliers, and this was all using other people's funds, because I didn't have to pay for the ads right away, and then the customer was paying for the item. I used the customer's money to buy the item, and then I would just get the payout, rinse and repeat. So this is an example of a leveraged business model example. The only thing is that I would run into kind of cash flow. Cash flow was one of the things that I would run into a problem, and the solution became leveraging business credit. And this is where it kind of I really opened up my eyes, and this is where the Business Credit Masterclass came in. So with that being said, I want to jump right into the training now. And these are going to be the steps that you're going to need to kind of complete in order to start building and leveraging credit. Okay, so now these are the exact steps that you're going to need. And at the end, you're going to see this checkpoint here that you could feel free to take a screenshot now. And we're going to go through each and every single one of these, starting in the exact order. So you just want to follow the process as I mentioned. And these are going to be the 17 steps that you need to get started in order to build your business. Step number 1 is the business name. Okay, very self-explanatory there, but we'll go over some guidelines. Use Corporations Today is a website that I like for inspiration. You can kind of see different names that people are using, and you can see those are actually companies that are for sale, and you can take one name from one company and another name from another company and put them together, and there you go. Another website that you can use is called Lean Domain Search, which you can get ideas for building like a website name. One thing you need to make sure that the business name isn't already in use. Depending on the state where you'll be filing, you can go check the directory and then decide whether or not it's in use. And then before you actually finalize the name, what you want to do is make sure the domain name is available. So I prefer the .com. So if the .com isn't available, just kind of go for another business name. You want to stay away from what's called risky business models. So things like gambling, cannabis, porn, credit, investing, etc. You want to stay away from these because creditors will be kind of leery on opening credit lines and loaning you money if you're in a risky business model. Keep in mind, if you're going to be forming an LLC, that will be a part of the business name. And I do have a PDF for the restricted list. Steps number 2 and 3. You're going to need the domain name along with an email address that correspond to your business name. Okay, so once you've thought of a business name, you want to make sure you secure the .com. I use GoDaddy, and I typically always use the privacy options. That way, you can just kind of conceal the identity of the person that owns it. Email address. A little hack here. What I do is I just grab a free Gmail account. So it may be whatever the business name is at gmail.com. And then what I do is I create an email forwarding from the domain host to the Gmail address. So GoDaddy and specifically lets you do email forwarding, and you can have then info at your business name forwarded to the Gmail, and that's like a free account where you don't have to pay monthly for your email hosting. Step number 4 is going to be a logo, and you want to have just a business logo, and this is going to create your brand identity. It's going to have you like more authority if someone actually has an official logo. Always go with the KISS method, which is just keep it simply stupid. You don't have to go crazy with anything. Just keep it very simple. Some free logo makers that you guys can use. Here's some websites: Logo Type Maker, Luca, or Logo Crisp. Here's actually a little way that will help you out, and it also helped me out, but you'll get a $20 free credit if you use that link. So you can take a screenshot, write it down, do what you have to do, but you'll get a $20 credit. And what you do is you use that credit to do a contest, and then you'll get a bunch of submissions depending on your logo, and then you can get basically a free paid logo. So that's freelancer.com/get/elaponte586. Okay, step number 5 is a virtual address. This is going to be the address of your company. It's going to be the same state that you filed the company in. So if you have a Florida company, you're going to have a Florida address. Suites are okay, but P.O. boxes are not. Keep that in mind. Some virtual address providers is the easiest way to do it. It's just Google whatever state and then virtual address. So Texas virtual address, California virtual address, etc. I went specifically with Wyoming agents simply because I use them as my address, and I filed in Wyoming. So steps number 6 and 7 is going to be your toll-free and your fax number. You're going to want to have these. It just makes the business bring more credibility. The number should start with 18 whatever it's 77003344, so on. This will be the number that's going to be listed on directories in a later step, and this is also going to be the number needed for credit applications. Okay, whenever you apply for these lines of credit, fax number also brings credibility, and now it seems ancient, but some credit applications are via fax, so you're going to have to be sending those, whether it's a virtual eFax, how I'll show you here, and this number will also be listed on directories. Okay, some providers you can use Call 8. They're like $1.99 a month. Use that promo code and it's like a free setup. It's E92674. And then Fax Better is just an online eFax. So you get a fax number and you can send and receive directly from your cell phone or your laptop. So you don't have to have an actual machine. Step number 8 is going to be a business website, and this business website is going to bring credibility. Nowadays, with templates, they're just so easy to do. One thing about a business website is that you kind of control the information, so you determine, how the company looks, which is great. This is also going to be the website that ranks in Google whenever vendors may search for your business online in order to kind of issue credit. And then this will also be used in directories. We're gonna directories is a step that we'll have to do, and you're gonna have to list the website. Some website builders that you can use include WordPress, ClickFunnels, AdPage, Wix, Shopify. I mean, really any landing page platform can do. You can even go on Fiverr or Gigbucks and then have someone kind of build one out for you. Some must-haves on this website: you're going to need a real domain name, number one. You're going to need the logo from the previous step, and then you're going to need contact details, so that way you know how people can get in hold of you. And then you're going to need a mission statement, and then some information about the company. A website example that you can use is sunvalleyconsulting.com, which is actually my website that I used in order to start building and leveraging business credit. Step number 9 is social media. Okay, social media is going to bring additional credibility once again, and these will rank on search. It makes it easier for vendors to kind of verify. And then these are just obviously very easy to kind of set up. It takes just a couple of minutes. At minimum, you want to have a Facebook page, LinkedIn if your business is kind of required for that, and then Instagram as well. These are like the platforms that you would want to create business profiles for. Steps 10 through 12. We're going to go through them here one at a time, but this is the business entity formation. So this is going to include your articles of organization, your registered agent, and then actually filing the company. Okay, so those are all three. So we're going to have the corporation as a type of entity, which is an S Corp, and then you have C Corp, and then another one to look into is LLC, which is the one that I went with. And then forming an LLC is actually very simple. There's a cool DIY guide on LLC University, and they basically break down every single step depending on the state that you're in. And then there's a done for you service that I looked into, which is called Northwest, and they also become your registered agent and your business address. And they're available in all 50 states, so they take care of everything that needs to be done. I personally went with Wyoming registered agents simply because I was going to register my business in Wyoming, and I found this company here that was a little bit cheaper than Northwest, but they did the same process and it was very simple. Step number 13 is going to be your EIN number. Okay, this is your employee identification number. This is basically what's called a social security number for your business. It's free. There's no cost to it. You can receive it instantly if you have a social security number. So if you're a U.S. resident, you can get it instantly just from the irs.gov website. If you have no social security number, maybe you're from another country, Canada, Mexico, Germany, Australia, New Zealand, so on and so forth, you can do it by fax, mail, or phone. And there's a form called the SS4, and you have to fill this one out, and then you just have to mail it in or fax it in, or you could even do the phone application, and then you'll get issued an EIN number. Or you can also find a done for you service. There are some that I've seen out there. I haven't used any because I actually did the process myself. So if you want to look into those, you just want to look into Google and see a EIN done for you service. Step number 14 is going to be a bank account. Okay, bank account, we're going to use that bank account so we can pay bills. We're going to use that bank account so we can get paid. We're going to use that bank account because some creditors actually may ask for bank statements. So we want to have something of that sort to show. So which banks can you use? If we look on the left-hand side, there's going to be online banks. Okay, these are all digital. These are easy to set up. Number one this is the one that I went with, which was Aslo. They have an app, they have the web, and everything is done online. They don't even have branches. Then you have NBKC, Novo, or Radius. I looked into those, but I didn't end up using them, obviously, because I went with Aslo. But if you need an alternative, you can try those. If you're in the US, you can try any of these physical banks. Number one, I would say, is Navy Federal. they're like a credit union. So I believe they're a credit union, but I just heard great things about them once you're established, and they offer good lines of credit, which you, and especially for business. Then of course you have Wells Fargo, Chase, business or credit unions if you have them in available in your state. Any bank will really work. You just have to bring in your paperwork, which is going to be like your articles of organization along with your EIN number. Step number 15 is going to be your NAICS and SIC codes. Okay, so these are going to be classification numbers for your business. Some creditors ask for them. Very easy. You can just Google that term right there, NAICS and SIC search, and then you just have to go through different categories to find the ones that suit your business. If you're in the consulting business, it's going to be one thing. If you're in a retail business, it's another thing. Laundromats, they kind of get very specific. So once you have that code, just save the code, and when a creditor asks for it, it's good to have it in place. Okay, step number 16 is going to be biz directories. Okay, so you're going to actually have to get listed in a bunch of business directories, and this is going to build business credibility. Okay, so this is when you're going to be on Yelp and Google and all this stuff, and when people search for you, you're going to come up. You want to list at a minimum of 25 for applying, because once you list on these, they're very simple to apply on. You're just basically putting in all your business information on these directories, and you get verified. Okay, there is a tool, if you see the sheet, where you can see where you have been listed. So once it starts actually listing and going through, you can see. And there is a premium service once you start listing on these that you'll get upsold, and they'll list you on all the major ones. I didn't go for this. I just literally manually went through and I listed on about 50 before I actually applied for my first credit line. Step number 17. We reached this final step here, which is your DUNS number. This is similar to your EIN number, and this is going to get you what's called a paydex score, which is a scoring metric on your business credit report. It's free, and this is definitely a must-have if you're going to be serious about leveraging business credit. You need to get on a call to verify basically all your business info and everything that's in the database that you originally put in. I actually recorded a call if you're interested, so you can see what to expect, and they will upsell you. Don't go for it. Just tell them that you're not interested and you just want your DUNS number. Okay, now I want to share with you guys optional steps 18 and 19. These are two more steps that you can add that I really do think you should do. Number 18 is creating a new PayPal. And the reason is you can collect payments in the future, and also PayPal offers credit. So you want to get a new PayPal that's tied to the business. And then step number 19 is a Stripe account. You want to have a payment processor always ready in case you need to collect payments. Okay, and if you want to sell something in the future, and so on and so forth. So if you've been writing them down, your list should look something like this. This is the 17-point business credit checklist. Feel free to go ahead and screenshot that. Okay, so at this point, if you've completed all the steps, then you can actually start applying for credit lines. This is where it gets really fun. Your checklist will look something like this if you've completed all of them, and then now what, right? So at this point, you'll be ready for part 2, which is applying and obtaining your first business credit lines. Okay, so part 2 is actually available in the Business Credit Masterclass, which I'll just take a few minutes and share with you guys what it's all about. I'll just go ahead and explain like I mentioned. So the Business Credit Masterclass is everything that you need to know on how to build and leverage business credit from scratch. We've just gone over part 1, the 17 and an optional 18 and 19 steps. And part 2 is going to be applying and obtaining your first business credit lines. And this section is going to be over where you get your first credit lines, and I actually share with you 3 guaranteed vendors that are going to issue and report credit lines. That way you can jumpstart your business credit file. Part three is ideas and strategies on what to do with credit lines and getting higher limits. So I put together like a few different strategies that you can use, and it just goes over different ideas, as I mentioned, on how you can actually leverage your credit and get higher limits. Okay, that's all. That's what it's all about at the end of the day. Part four is all generalized tips and best practices. Things that I've gone through, some problems that I've encountered, the things that I've found along this business journey that will help you along the way, and kind of, you know, I guess you could say bend the learning curve. That way you don't complete the same mistakes that I went through. Also in the Business Credit Masterclass, there's 5 bonuses that I want to share with you as well. Bonus number 1 is the credit vendor list. These are going to be the companies issuing the credit. Okay, this file here is gold. There's over 120 vendors on here that are willing to issue business credit. And in this, as I mentioned, is the 3 guaranteed vendors as well that will issue you credit so you can jumpstart your business crawl instantly. This is gold. I've actually even sorted them out in the order that you should apply, which is just amazing. Number 2 is going to be the online directory list. If you remember, in one of the steps, you have to list on at least 25 directories before you start applying for business lines. I include 150 of them here in a list where you can just literally go one by one and start deciding, just putting your information in so you can list on that directory. Bonus number 3 is the restricted industry list. So before you actually file the paperwork for the list, you want to make sure that your business is not on this list. There's a huge list, and you want to stay away from the high risk businesses along with the ones that are on this list. I've compiled the complete list on here. Number 4 is if you don't want to watch the video training because the training is done through video, I've converted it and made it into the PDF training version. So you can actually just go step by step and see it electronically as opposed to watching a video if you prefer to be trained that way. And then number 5 is just throughout the training, I mention a lot of resources and I mention a lot of different contacts and connects. And I've actually compiled this all into one huge list that you can just go through it and have no problem getting anything for it. There's actually more. There's 2 business credit hacks that are going to be included for those of you that decide that you want to take action today. And hack number 1 is my Amazon Ninja hack. And with this hack, let me tell you, this hack alone is just gold. And it's how you can get free products and high credit limits through Amazon. And I share with you strategies on how to get thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in free products from Amazon while building business credit. If you just get the business credit for this hack here alone, it's well worth it. You're going to be building credit history, you're going to be building payment history, and getting free products, okay? This technique alone is worth it. When I mean thousands and thousands of products, I mean it. Hack number 2 is my cash out hack method, where I show you a proven strategy on how to cash out your credit lines. This is something that I've been doing and it works. Just trust me, it works. Some examples of some recent credit lines that I've gotten. If you looked all the way on the left, it's a $75,000 credit limit to Sunbelt Rentals. Maybe you need equipment. That's great. You can see in the middle, Hertz Rental. They actually gave me a $5,000 limit and then a gas card, which is always good. Who doesn't need gas, right? Here's some more gas cards that have been approved. Here's a $25,000 Visa. JC Penney, $2,000, $15,000 at Sam's Club, $4,500 at ExxonMobil. I mean, the list goes on and on. Here's a quick recap of everything that's included with the Business Credit Masterclass. So you get bonus number 1, which is the credit vendor list. Number 2, which is the online directory list, which has 150 online directories. You're going to be getting the restricted industry list. Make sure your business is not on this before you start listing. You're going to get the PDF training version of the training, just in case you don't want or have time for the video training. throughout all this training, I actually list out a bunch of resources. I've compiled those into a list that you can just go through and decide which ones are needed for you. The Amazon Ninja method is also included in this. My Cashout hack method is also included in this. Part 2, which is applying and obtaining your first business credit lines. Part 3, which is ideas and strategies on what to do with those credit lines and getting higher limits. And then Part 4, which is generalized tips and best practices. Listen, guys, this has over a $7,147 value. And if for those of you that act today, you can literally get it for just $197. Okay. Everything is included, as I mentioned, where you can just start leveraging and building this business credit and start your credit journey. Okay. If you want to get in on that deal, here's the link. You can go to bizcreditmasterclass.com/buy, and you'll have all the information there along with the payment method there. You can just go to it once again, bizcreditmasterclass.com/buy, or depending on where you're watching this video, it may be in the description section. So I hope that this video has brought you value. I hope that you learned a lot about business credit, and I look forward to seeing you on the inside. Peace.